Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name's John Campea, and this is the best damn movie-related show on the internet, the John Campea Show, coming to you from right here in Los Angeles, California. And it's awesome to have you guys joining me here today as we talk about our favorite things in the world, movies and movie news, and all that sorts of good stuff. And I'm not alone today. I'm being helped out today, of course, by Ashley Whalen. Ashley, how you doing?
Hey, TGIF. Good morning, you guys. How's it going?
What are you doing this weekend? You got anything excited this weekend?
What do I have going on? Actually, it's my best friend's birthday, so we're trying out a new restaurant in Los Feliz, California, and then that's about it. I don't know. Wherever, a couple parties lined up. I hopefully see some movies. We'll see.
We're doing something pretty cool tonight. My wife Ann and Ray, who you know, and my brother-in-law Ray, they grew up and are still big wrestling fans. And Ray loves this WWE diva. Paige is her name. And there is a new movie coming out with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson in it called Fighting With My Family, and it's the biography of Paige. And cool. That's coming out in the next couple of weeks. But tonight, and I bought tickets for all of us, and then I surprised Ray with it. Me and Ray and our buddy Ryan, we're going to go down to the ArcLight in Hollywood tonight because there's a special screening of Fighting With My Family. And Paige is going to be there, and she's going to be doing a Q&A. So I told Ray, got all excited, and last night Ray came down. Ray's got several figures of Paige. He goes, do you think I'm going to be able to get her to autograph these? I'm like, I don't know, maybe, but he's all excited. So we're going to go down and see Paige tonight. I might film some video of it later for you guys, so you guys can see it too. Okay, guys, with that done, we've got a few things that we got to talk about here today, and we're going to mostly take them from your emails, but we'll get to that in a second. But first, we got to talk about this. Last night, Ben Affleck was on Jimmy Kimmel to promote his upcoming film on Netflix, Triple Frontier, which looks pretty damn good, by the way. And we all know that he wasn't going to be the Batman anymore, at least in Matt Reeves' Batman movie. We knew Matt Reeves was going to move in a different direction and cast somebody else. Fine. There was still a ton of speculation that he would still be Batman at least one more time in some other incarnation of Batman within the DCEU. Well, that got put to rest last night as Ben Affleck got on Jimmy Kimmel and he basically said this. He said, he was basically asked, why aren't you going to be Batman anymore? And he said this. I tried to direct a version of Batman. I worked with a really good screenwriter, but kind of just couldn't come up with a version. Couldn't crack it. Thought it was time for someone else to take a shot at it. And they've got some really good people. And then a little bit later, he just looked into the camera and definitively said, I'm not Batman. I'm not Batman. So that kind of puts and closes the book, I think. I would think, at least at any rate, for most people, that closes the book on this whole, what would you say, odyssey, if you will? This whole adventure and odyssey about whether or not Ben Affleck was going to be Batman anymore. I want to point something out here, though. I want to point something out. Is when he was asked to explain why he wasn't Batman anymore, let me bring this back up again. And I think this is key and I think this is important. It wasn't in the last 3 months that he decided not to be Batman anymore. It wasn't 6 months ago that he decided to be Batman anymore. I want you to pay attention to this. When asked directly, like, why did you decide not to be Batman? He goes all the way back to when they announced that they were scrapping his script and he was stepping out as the director. He said, I tried to direct a version of Batman, I couldn't crack the script. He says that's when he stopped being Batman. That's like a year and a half ago, ladies and gentlemen. Maybe 2 years ago now. It's been years since that decision was made that he wasn't going to be Batman anymore. I want to remind you, that's exactly when I told you guys that he wasn't going to be Batman anymore. But here's the thing too, and this is the other thing, and when Ben says the reason he stepped down was because, I had a really good screenwriter, but I just kind of couldn't come up with a version. I couldn't crack it. Well, I don't believe that for a second. He's lying about that. And by the way, you're going to hear me say he's lying a couple of times here, but let me preface all this by saying this. I completely agree with why he's lying. And I completely agree that he should be lying right now because it is the professional thing to do. And I completely support and endorse what he's saying. He is saying all the right things as he has all along. But I want to remind you guys of this. Let's flash back now to after he was removed as the director and after he had already made the decision that he wasn't going to be Batman anymore. Now let's go back to Comic-Con 2017, after he had already stepped down as Batman. He got on stage at Comic-Con in 2017 and jumped up and down like Tom Cruise on Oprah's couch, like swearing he was still Batman, even though now we know for a fact he wasn't. And he said this in 2017 at Comic-Con. He goes, "Let me be very clear. I am the luckiest guy in the world. Batman is the coolest motherfucker character in any universe, DC, Marvel, and I'm so thrilled to do it. I would be a fucking ape on the ground for Matt Reeves. Never mind being Batman. I'm really blown away and excited. It's a great time to be in the DC universe. Yay!" And it was all BS. It was all bullshit. All of it. And I remember the night before that DC panel at Comic-Con in 2017, and the Hollywood Reporter had just come out with their report confirming what I had been saying, that Ben Affleck is out as Batman. I got on and I made a video from San Diego and Comic-Con saying, tomorrow at the DC panel, they will deny this. They have to deny it because they have Justice League coming out. You can't have the story be Ben, the star of this movie, is no longer going to be in this franchise. They got to come out and they got to deny it. And sure enough, Ben comes out on the stage at Comic-Con and says this, which was total BS. So now look, let's go back to this statement that Ben made last night, that the reason I stepped away is I just couldn't come up with the story. I just couldn't come up with a story, Ashley, to make a good Batman movie. And I'm like, wait a minute, time out. First of all, we know you've been lying about your involvement with Warner Brothers and DC this whole time anyway, so there's that. Also, you're telling me that you, the Academy Award winner for Best Picture Filmmaker, that you, the Directors Guild of America Best Director of the Year, that you, a screenwriter with an Academy Award for screenwriting on your mantle, that you, the number one authority and fanboy of Batman in all of Hollywood, in the Hollywood industry, there's nobody in the Hollywood industry who's as big of a fan as Batman and knows as much about Batman as Ben Affleck. You're telling me that you couldn't come up with a Batman story that you were happy with. Really? Wow. BS. That's BS. Because guess what? He was so excited about his Batman. He was so excited about his story that remember this, guys? Remember this Deathstroke test footage? He was so excited about his movie and believed in his movie so much, he even did test shots of Joe Manganiello in the Deathstroke costume because Deathstroke was going to be the big villain, and he started releasing this stuff online to get us all excited about it. Ben Affleck wrote a script that was so good, that DC director and their storyboard artist, Jay Olivia, who, by the way, was the director of DC animated films, the celebrated Batman The Dark Knight Returns Part 1 and the Batman The Dark Knight Returns Part 2. He directed Justice League The Flashpoint Paradox. He directed Justice League War. He directed Batman Assault on Arkham. He directed Batman vs. Robin. He directed Batman Bad Blood. And he directed Justice League Dark. And he does the storyboard work for a lot of their live action films as well. Jay Olivia, the director of all these Batman films, he got on Twitter and said, hey, the original Ben Affleck script was the best Batman script I've ever read. Ben had a kick-ass story, and I believe that the audience and fans would have loved it. Ben believed in it so much, he started releasing test footage of Deathstroke. You've got a seasoned Batman animated director and the storyboard artist for DC saying, this is the best Batman script I've ever read. He was super excited about it. Oh, but wait, now we're supposed to believe that, you just couldn't come up with a good Batman story? Really?
He's a great actor.
He is a fabulous actor, Ashley, as a matter of fact. He's fabulous. But guess what? It goes further than this. Because this is a page right out of the standard Warner Brothers playbook. Because Ben Affleck isn't the only director they parted ways with and came up with this, hey, you know what a good BS story is to save face for everybody? Just say, hey, you took a crack at it and really couldn't come up with a good story. If only we've heard that from somebody else. Oh yeah, Joss Whedon. Joss Whedon, who was attached to direct a Batgirl film for Warner Brothers for like a year. Joss Whedon, the guy who did Buffy, the guy who brought us the Avengers. Joss Whedon, king of the geek sphere for almost a decade or more. And when he parted ways with Warner Brothers, what was the official script? Here's what Joss Whedon said. There were elements that I just hadn't mastered that after a long time, I felt like I wasn't going to. I told people that I didn't have an idea, which isn't, he was on Batgirl for a year and he's saying, I didn't have an idea, which isn't an exact truth. I had an idea, but it didn't fit in the space I was left for it. It was a little bit heartbreaking. This is exactly the same thing that Warner Brothers is now having Ben Affleck say. This is their playbook. Their cover our asses statement when they have to part ways with a high-profile director is say, let's just get the high-profile director out there saying, oh yeah, I was really excited about it, but I just couldn't come up with the right story for it. Bullshit.
It's a good sympathy card approach to it. I feel like, that's exactly what they're trying to do with their PR. They're just trying to make people be like, oh, I mean, I feel for him, like he probably was like really trying and he just couldn't hack it. So let's just let it go.
And that's exactly it, Ashley. It's PR.
Yeah.
It is the PR spin. And you know what? This is why I said at the beginning, they're lying. And I'm totally understanding why. And I'm totally cool with it because it is a PR spin that does save face for everybody. It saves face for the studio. It saves face for the directors. And by the way, and it leaves the door open for the studio and the director to work again on something else later. It doesn't burn any bridges, but make no mistake about it, my brothers and sisters in film fandom. This guy who says he couldn't come up with a story for Batman is an Academy Award-winning screenwriter with the deepest knowledge of Batman out of any of the Hollywood elite guys. He was so excited about his script, he put out test footage of Deathstroke, and the script was apparently so good that a seasoned Batman director comes out and says it was the best Batman script I've ever read. Don't feed us this BS that he couldn't come up with a story. I mean, I get why you are feeding us this BS. I understand why, and I do not blame Warner Brothers, and I do not blame Ben Affleck in the least. He's acting professional, and I appreciate that about him. I'm just saying that we as fans don't buy it for a second, because Ben ain't the first one to do this. We've seen this song and dance before from Warner Brothers when they've had to part ways over a high-profile director on something. So the bottom line here is this, Ashley. Ben Affleck is done. I've said for a while that he was done, but I also said I believe there was a 50-50 chance he could do one more film simply because there was still one film left on his contract. But Ben has now even put that to bed. Because because one of the other things they did at Kimmel was they took his Batman costume and hung it in the rafters like a sport. When they retire a jersey, they hang up the jersey in the rafters.
I have FOMO. I want to see this film.
I wanted to see a Ben Affleck directed and written Batman movie so freaking long. I think he's the guy. He was the right guy to do it. And I don't know. There was other drama. I don't know what all the other drama was. I've heard some things. Whether I believe it or not is irrelevant. But yeah, so they hung his Batman costume up in the rafters and they had him put an exclamation point up on it by saying, "I'm not Batman." And my heart broke. I've been dying to see a Batman written to tears, Ashley, because I've been waiting to see a Batman movie by Ben Affleck for so long. This breaks my heart. But at least now, with him coming out and definitively saying, not just that I'm not in the Matt Reeves Batman, him coming out definitively saying, I'm not Batman. At least now that closes the book. That closes the book on this chapter of everything. We can now, as fans, turn all of our attention to getting ready to support whoever the next person cast is. My only hope, I don't care who they cast as long as it's a good, talented actor. That's all I care about. And then we can get behind that actor and we can start getting excited about Matt Reeves' Batman if he ever gets around to doing it, because that's been like years. But now we can turn our attention to that. So the closing of one chapter.
Batman? What if he's not Batman, but what if he's a different character in the movie? No, I'm just kidding. It's over.
I mean, who knows? Who knows? But I mean,
like,
one of the other
Joker.
things one of the other films I'm excited for him to is to get going on The Accountant 2, because he did The Accountant with Warner Brothers, and Warner Brothers wants to do The Accountant 2. I loved The Accountant with him and the girl from Pitch Perfect. Lead girl from Pitch Perfect. Used to date Edgar Wright. Why am I drawing?
Anne, or what is it?
Yeah, I can't. Yeah, the lead girl from Pitch Perfect.
It's slipping my mind right now too. Isn't it like Anna?
It's Anna Kendrick. It is Anna Kendrick. Yeah. It's Anna Kendrick. Yes. So, and John Bernthal was in The Accountant. Hopefully now they can just turn all their attention to getting The Accountant 2 done. I'd love to see that film. And Ben, we didn't get enough of you, buddy. I thought you were the best incarnation of Batman that we've ever had. You're great, and I'll just look forward to seeing what he does next. All right, guys, with all that said, we've got a couple things, main topics that we need to get here today. How do we select our main topics here on the John Campea Show? Well, it's really rather simple. You guys select our main topics by emailing us your topics anytime to john@thejohncampeashow.com. That's john@thejohncampeashow.com. Make sure you put the word topic in the subject line. And as always, guys, keep your emails to 90 words or less. With that out of the way, Ashley, what's our first email today?
First up is Kyle Macero. Hey, John. Okay, this keeps getting crazier. Did you hear Jason Momoa is now signed on as a cast member to the new Dune film? It feels like this is snowballing and all the great actors are hopping on board. My excitement for this film has gone from 7 to 11 over 10. What are your thoughts? Bring on the filthy.
Yeah, so it's nuts. It feels like every day for the last 2 weeks, Ashley, that we have had a blockbuster announcement of a new cast member joining. Now, this is a graphic we used yesterday, but it bears repeating to bring this up again. So with Jason Momoa now joining the cast, Jason Momoa joins Academy Award nominee Timothée Chalamet. By the way, this kid is going to have an Oscar or two on his mantle before it's all said and done. Rebecca Ferguson, Josh Brolin, Charlotte Rampling, Javier Bardem, Oscar Isaac, Dave Bautista, Stellan Skarsgård, and now you're adding to that Jason Momoa, on and on and on. Now look, everybody knows I'm a big Jason Momoa fan. Back in the day, before they announced Ben, one of my picks to play Batman was actually Jason Momoa, because I think he is a better actor than people give him credit for. They look at him, they just see the chiseled good looks, they see this huge physical specimen of a man, the brutishness of him, and there's movie star quality all over him, but not a lot of people gave him a lot of credit for his acting. And then I saw him in that Sylvester Stallone terrible movie called Bullet to the Head, but Jason Momoa was the villain in it, and he was actually quite good. Momoa was actually quite good in it, and that's when I went, you know what, this dude would be a pretty great Batman. And then he ended up being Aquaman, and I love him as Aquaman. So you add him now to this ensemble that is shaping up to be one of the best, at least in the top 2, most exciting movies in development and upcoming movies that we have, because there's that, and there's I was going to say Oliver Stone, Quentin Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which is also coming. You got Margot Robbie, you got Brad Pitt, you got Leonardo DiCaprio, you got like on and on, this huge, incredible cast. And now you've got right up there too is this Dune thing. And I'm excited about it, and I cannot wait to see what he does with this. So let me ask you, though, Ashley, what are your thoughts? Like, I don't know if you've seen Conan. I don't know if you watched him in Game of Thrones. I'm going to assume you haven't seen Jason Momoa in Stargate Atlantis, the series. But
my favorite now.
What are your thoughts on Jason Momoa?
I really like him. He's a really charming guy. He's obviously talented. He's built for certain roles. I think that I really loved him in Game of Thrones, and it's not easy to do the accent and language that he learned. I respect him as an actor. I just haven't seen enough of him personally. I've only seen him in a Game of Thrones and a couple other things, but nothing that I feel like will have as much weight as this film.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. But I'm excited to see him in it. And this again, let me bring up this cast. This is insane. Brolin, Ferguson, Chalamet, Bardem, Skarsgård. I mean, this is just getting nuts now. So, hey, I'm looking forward to seeing whatever they're going to be giving us. All right. What's the second email today?
Okay, next up is from Mike. Apparently, the Pirates of the Caribbean reboot has lost the Deadpool writers Rhett Reese and Paul Wernick. Do you think there's a chance Disney just scraps the idea of rebooting this franchise? What do you think, John? Are they going to scrap it?
You know what? I actually think so at this point. At this point, I really think so because, look, they've wanted to keep this ship, no pun intended. They've wanted to keep this pirate ship sailing. This is a movie that has made, and a franchise that has made Disney billions and billions and billions of dollars. Billions and billions of dollars. And the last one that came out, which I actually think was my favorite one other than the original. I haven't been a fan really of any of the other ones. I love the first one, but I think this most recent one was my second favorite. But even though some people talk about it as if it flopped, guess what? This movie basically made $800 million at the box office.
Crazy.
That's their version of a flop. So even their flop made about $800 million. So obviously, the head of the studio of Disney's movie studio production, he wanted to keep this going. However, in a lot of the articles that you read, working with Johnny Depp has become problematic. Working with Johnny Depp has become problematic for a number of issues that he has surrounding his life. But they still thought they wanted to take a shot at doing this. So what they did is they bring in Reese and Wernick, the guys who did Deadpool and a number of other properties as well. And the head of the Disney studio was like pumped. He was even putting out statements, we're going to make Pirates of the Caribbean punk rock again. We're going to bring it back to its roots. We're going to make it awesome. And he was so stoked about having these writers in. And now they've walked. And they're out. At this point, and I am strictly speculating here, Ashley, because you asked, do I think they're going to just drop this whole idea of rebooting the franchise? I think they are at this point. I really do. Because from what we're hearing, there are Disney executives who do want to keep this money train going, but there's also a big contingent of Disney executives who are just like, you know what? It was a great ride, but let's move on to other things. Let's put the Pirates of the Caribbean thing to bed. We kind of gas this thing out. We push it as far as we can go. We agree we can't really do it with Johnny Depp anymore because that's problematic. We had a shot. We had an opportunity with these two writers. It didn't work out. Now, I'm just guessing. I'm not claiming any insider information here at all. I'm simply guessing in speculation as a fan. But I think it's done now. Yeah, I think this was their kick at the can, and now I think they're done.
Was the money growing as it was going on, like the budget for each film and the gross, or was it going just like all over the place?
I think it fluctuated, but all of them made big money. I mean, all of them made big money. And there was even some reports that one of the Pirates movies could have been maybe the most expensive film ever made because it just got way out of hand. And Depp was demanding more and more money as they were going on, and understandably so. Remember, Johnny Depp actually got nominated for an Academy Award for the first Pirates of the Caribbean film. He was nominated for Best Actor.
Yeah. I mean, he was great in it.
He was. He created one of the all-time most beloved Hollywood characters ever in Captain Jack Sparrow, right? And he did a great job with it, even though it was just basically, who's the Rolling Stone guitarist? Why am I forgetting?
I'm so drunk.
Yes, he's just basically doing an imitation of him. But still, yeah, I think it's done, and I think we're going to be now needing to look forward to what's coming next. All right, what's our third email today?
All right, last one is from Jillian Garth, wandering around the interwebs and saw that they're projecting Captain Marvel to hit around 100 million opening weekend. Okay, that's cool, but is that good or bad? If Captain Marvel does hit 100 million opening weekend, do you think Marvel should be happy or sad with that? Thank you very much.
Yeah, so we've been talking a lot about Captain Marvel, and I remember there was an early report a while ago kind of saying that Captain Marvel could open to 140 million. And I said, no, no. And Robert and I were talking, my guess was around 90. I was guessing around 90. Now, the new official tracking has come out from the industry, and they're tracking right now that they're saying anywhere between 90 and like 120 million, but they're kind of targeting $100 million for an opening weekend for Captain Marvel. So is that good or is that bad? Well, let's put it into perspective, okay? Let's look at all the other comic book superhero movies that have come out introducing us to a new superhero, okay? So this wouldn't include Black Panther because Black Panther had a big role in Captain America Civil War. That won't include Wonder Woman because Wonder Woman was already introduced on the big screen in Batman versus Superman. And, Spider-Man, even the new Spider-Man, he was introduced very flashily in Captain America Civil War as well. But let's look at all the opening weekends for origin superhero movies that this was actually their first appearance, okay? So we're looking at this. The number one box office opening weekend film for a intro solo superhero movie is Deadpool that made $132 million on its opening weekend. The next was the first Sam Raimi Spider-Man that made $114 million. Now, if Captain Marvel does and can manage to make $100 million on its opening weekend, it would make it the third largest opening weekend for an intro solo superhero movie in history. It would be just ahead of the first Iron Man film, but also it would notably and by a significant margin mean it would be opening over Ant-Man, which opened at $57 million, the first Captain America, the first Avenger film at $65 million, the original Thor movie, one of my favorite comic book movies of all time, that opened at $65 million, and over and on top of Doctor Strange with Benedict Cumberbatch, that opened at $85 million. So, in the question of if Captain Marvel, which has never been on screen before, ever, wasn't introduced in any other films, if Captain Marvel can open to $100 million, is that good or bad? Well, I would simply say in context, that's pretty damn good. If there's only two other original superhero films ever to open at more than that, that's not bad. If you beat out Doctor Strange by $15 million, that's not bad. If you're beating out Thor and the first Captain America, that's not bad. Now, the industry has grown and the genre has grown, but I'm thinking if it comes in at $100 million, I was guessing 90 before. I was guessing 90. And hey, maybe those who are more optimistic, like Robert Meyer Burnett, like Rob is more optimistic, but he's thinking this thing's going to come in about 130 and 140. And if it does, fantastic. That's great. But in the question of would 100 million be good? Hey, I think if you look at it in context, you have to spin it pretty hard to not acknowledge that it's pretty good. You'd have to put a pretty serious, biased spin on it to not acknowledge that a $100 million opening for this would be pretty damn good. And but then the question becomes, how does it do long term? What kind of legs does the movie have? Okay, great, it makes $100 million opening weekend. Does it then go on to make $800 million? Or does it go on to make $400 million? I mean, those are the bigger, more important questions that we really can't answer until we actually get a look at the film and see how good it is. Because maybe it's great, maybe it's horrible, who knows? But if it does come in at 100, I think that's pretty good. Where's your anticipation level right now, Ashley, for a movie, say, like Captain Marvel? Are you looking forward to this one?
Oh yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. But I'm wondering where the draw for the average viewer is. Like, is it Brie Larson? Is it their marketing and their trailers? Is it the story? Like, do they just love Captain Marvel? Like, why is it going to be above, say, Thor? I wonder. But
I think the reason it's going to come in above Thor, I think, look, why will it come in above and why won't it do better are two different questions. Why it'll come in above Thor and things like that is because I think the trust in the MCU has grown over the years, right? So I think, and there was a time when the comic book movie was not the undisputed most dominant genre in Hollywood. It is now. So the excitement for these movies has grown. Doesn't mean they're all going to be automatic big hits, but it's grown. So, and I think that it's Marvel. The fact that it's going to be coming right before Avengers Endgame, I think they're going to have a significant tie into Avengers Endgame in it. So there's all that. Why not better then? Then why won't it do even better than 100 million? Well, for a couple of reasons. Same thing is like Doctor Strange. We never had Doctor Strange in any MCU movie before. We had never met him. The audiences were not introduced to him. He just came in cold on his own movie, made 85 million, and that was great.
Pretty good.
A character like Black Panther got an amazing kick-ass intro in Civil War, to the point now that when the movie was coming out, we were like, oh, I can't wait to see this guy in his own movie. You know, Aquaman, which also only opened to under $70 million on its opening weekend, went on to make over $1 billion. Aquaman had an intro in Justice League. Wonder Woman had a significant intro and was already introduced to the audience in Batman versus Superman. So there's a lot of people who have never even heard, in the general movie-going audience, there's a lot of people who've never even heard of Captain Marvel. Never even heard of her. You don't, unlike Spider-Man Homecoming, which they brought Tony Stark and Iron Man into that movie to help propel it a little bit, we've got more of a secondary character in Samuel L. Jackson's Nick Fury. So that's why I think it will do as well as it can do, but it won't do much better. And then again, the real question then becomes, how does it do once it opens and people see the quality of it? And that ultimately is going to be the biggest question that we need to address.
I think a lot of my friends get confused. They're like, "Oh, is Captain Marvel, like, is she the queen of Marvel Universe?" And then others are like, "Captain America, is she like with Captain America?" Like they don't quite get her yet.
And then there's still a lot of people. There are people who have a general basic knowledge of comic books. Wait a minute. Isn't Captain Marvel Shazam? Because for decades and decades and decades and decades, Shazam's name was actually Captain Marvel. Shazam was just the word that he would say to turn from Billy Batson into Captain Marvel, but the character's name was actually Captain Marvel. So we had two Captain Marvels for a while. You had Captain Marvel in the DC universe, you had a Captain Marvel in the Marvel universe. Now Shazam is just known as Shazam, and there's a lot of stuff here that can cause the average film goer a little bit of confusion, and it's going to be interesting to see. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this all kind of pans out. All right, guys. With all that down, we like to take some time here to take your live questions. A bunch of you guys have been sending in live questions, so we're going to go to do that right now. So, Ashley, what is first up with the live questions?
First is from Ben Jesusa. Saw Alita Battle Angel last night. Has a few narrative and pacing issues, but the visuals and fun action outweigh all of that. It's truly worth a watch.
I am very curious to see. Now, I was going to go see that last night. But Anne has a class and she got home a little bit later than we thought. And we were like, okay, we can't go. And tonight we're going to go see Fighting with My Family with Paige. So I can't do it tonight either. So I think like tomorrow morning, I've got a breakfast meeting tomorrow morning. And I think as soon as I'm done that breakfast meeting, I'm going to run right into a theater and go see like an early matinee of Alita. Because I have been quite excited about seeing Alita. Just because I think the subsequent trailers after the first one, which was horrible, but the trailers after the first trailer have been pretty good and exciting. And I'm a little nervous because nobody's talking about that. It's just the story's any good. But everybody's saying the visuals and the actions are great. And I've liked movies for less. So here's hoping that I'm going to enjoy that one too. All right, what's next?
Mason Barr, you can take a good look at a T-bone by sticking your head up a bull's ass, but wouldn't you rather take the butcher's word for it?
Oh, that's Chris Farley from Tommy Boy. That's Chris. And wait, whoa. Wait a second. Okay, that's why. Okay, I was just thinking that why have I been hearing Chris Farley's name today? That's right, because Mason goes on to say, "Happy birthday, Chris Farley." Yeah, man. And you know what?
Oh, happy birthday, Chris Farley. Yeah.
As much as all the movies that he's done, he'll always be the guy who sleeps in a van down by the river to me. That and came this close to being official Chippendale when he had the dance off with Patrick Swayze. I almost said Patrick Stewart. That sketch is one of the best sketches ever in the history of Saturday Night Live. If you haven't seen the sketch of Chris Farley and Patrick Swayze doing a dance-off in the finals of the Chippendales auditions, go watch it and you will laugh yourself sick. So good. All right, what's next?
Ben Jesusa, BVS, I agree, has problems, but I believe the best DCEU fights are between Superman and Batman plus Superman versus Zod. Zod?
Yeah.
Zod. Also, Batfleck, you shall be missed.
Batfleck shall be missed. And I'll tell you what, it's not just those fights that were great. One of the best fights ever in the DCU was love or hate Batman versus Superman, but the scene where Batman goes to rescue Martha, the warehouse assault scene. Oh my God. Like the action in that scene and the sheer brutality of Batman as he is wiping out all these fools and just the sheer violence of it is so great. I would suggest, look, I love the Christopher Nolan Batman movies. Absolutely. They are the gold standard bearers of comic book movies and Batman movies for sure. But one of the things that Nolan never got great in his Batman movies were the fight sequences. Never really got the fight sequences great. And that scene, love or hate Batman versus Superman, that scene where Ben Affleck goes to rescue Superman's mother and just beats the shit out of all these henchmen, it was delicious. It's just the best way I can put it. It was delicious. And you're right, dude. Batfleck shall be missed. Batfleck shall be missed. All right, what's next?
Gene Check. You either die a Han or live long enough to become John Campea.
Well, I guess you're making me the villain in this, Gene. Well, screw y'all. Screw y'all. Hashtag Han had it coming. And Rob, if Rob were here right now, of course, Rob, we give Rob Fridays off. But if Rob were here right now, I'm sure he'd be screaming amen. I'm sure he'd be screaming amen to you right now. All right, what's next?
Orange Hand. Dune's director says films will be in 2 parts.
You know, it goes back and forth, Orange. I've read reports saying that he intends to do the Dune story in 2 movies. I've seen other places say 1. I believe the first stuff I heard was 2. That's the first stuff I heard. I personally think he's going to do it in 2 films. I do. I think he's going to do the first Dune thing in 2 films. So here's what. But I haven't heard this. Forgive me if I'm wrong. I don't think I've heard the studio officially confirm that. But I believe that's what's happening. But we'll have to wait and see. Maybe, guys, send me a link. If you guys have a link to a story where the studios actually confirmed that, I'd love to see that because maybe I just missed it. All right, what's next?
John Michael Lozada. John, growing up in Canada, did you ever watch the TV show Degrassi? One of my all-time guilty pleasures. Hashtag justice for Han.
You know what the funny thing is? With all these people who talk about Degrassi and how much they love Degrassi, Kevin Smith grew up loving Degrassi. I mean, that's where Drake got his start. He was in Degrassi. And you'd think as a Canadian, I would have watched Degrassi. I never did. A couple of episodes here and there, but I was never a Degrassi guy. It's weird, that big Canadian culture thing that a lot of Americans do actually watch, and I never actually really watched it. So, strange. Did you ever watch Degrassi, Ashley?
No, I never did. No, I'm not too familiar.
All right, what's next?
JCL Productions. Hey, John, you and crew should make a short film together. You got a working actress, a director, camera ops and all. We need a good Campea channel skit.
It's tough, man, doing that stuff. It is tough. Like I'd be down for it. Maybe I will write and direct a short film. Maybe I will. I don't want.
He's got his wheels turning.
I know. I'm trying to decide whether to share a piece of information or not. I've got a meeting with somebody, but no, I'm not going to share that yet. But you know what? That sounds like fun, but it's a lot of work, man. It's a lot of work to do these things. And clearly, I would love to direct something that Ashley Whalen starred in that got her first big role in whatever. But maybe. I mean, look, Rob's a filmmaker. I'm not a filmmaker. I have made films, but I wouldn't call myself a filmmaker. But we got Ashley's working actress. We've got great tech people like Jonathan Voico. I don't know. Maybe it's something we consider. We'll think about it. All right, what's next?
Yeah, it's always good to put it out there. Cameron W. So Batman is going to be a villain and fight Robin in Titans. With what happens with Superman and Supergirl, what are your thoughts?
I don't watch Titans. I haven't seen a single episode of it, so I have no idea what the context is. I have no idea how they're setting that up. I have no idea if that fits or not, so I really can't comment on it because I haven't seen it yet, Cameron, at all. So, yeah, there's that. All right, what's next?
Give Luigi a ring. Hey, guys, have you seen the Brightburn trailer? Haven't heard anything about it, but it looks cool. What is this movie? Evil Superman boy child?
Oh, dude, we talked about the Brightburn trailer for like 5 days in a row. When that thing came out, we talked about it like every day for a week. For those of you who haven't seen it, and if you haven't, you need to go watch it. Like, hop on YouTube, search Brightburn trailer. Because the trailer starts, and James Gunn is producing it, right? The trailer starts, and you're just like, this is Superman. This is a total blatant ripoff of the Superman story. And then, in the trailer, halfway through the trailer, the twist happens. And all I can say is, there's not a lot of films. There are a few, but not many films that I'm more excited to see than Brightburn now. It takes this horror twist. So basically the idea of it is, okay, The traditional Superman mythology, alien baby comes to Earth, destined to be like one of the saviors of mankind, right? What happens if it's a bad kid? What happens if that kid who lands, that baby develops into a bad kid? And the horrors of a powered being like that gone bad. And watch the trailer. If you haven't seen it, I adore this trailer. I cannot wait for this movie from the mind of James Gunn. I'm psyched. I'm totally psyched. All right, what's next?
Ben Davis, hey guys, love the show. Today is my 25th birthday.
Happy
and I was
birthday!
wondering if you had words of wisdom to share. Also, Bedemption is coming in episode 9. Han had it coming. Happy
Bedemption.
birthday.
No, I do not think Bedemption is coming. At least I hope not, but who knows? Maybe they will. I hope they don't, but they might. As far as words of wisdom, my best words of wisdom are this. Do something every day, no matter how big or how small, that moves you towards your goals. Only you know what your goals are. But whatever your goals are, don't be, a lazy ass clown. Do something, no matter how big or how small, that takes you even an inch closer to what your goals are. Maybe it's writing that letter or sending off that email. Maybe it's going to practice this or practice that. Maybe it's having a meeting with somebody about something. Maybe it's doing a little bit of research on what it is about your goals. But every day, do something, no matter how big or how small, that inches you closer towards your goals. That's the best advice I have. What would you say is the best advice you give somebody 25 you can remember all the way back to when you were 25, Ashley?
Lead with your gut and try to stay present. And those two things will get you kind of where you want to go.
And happy birthday again, Ben. Thanks for writing that in, man. All right, what's next?
Lee Mallinson, sad day when the Triple Frontier trailer doesn't make anyone's news section, but the Batfleck stuff does. No wonder studios don't make original content.
Well, look, let's be honest here. The Triple Frontier is a direct-to-Netflix film, right? It's a direct-to-Netflix film, and it's not its first trailer. We talked, when they dropped their first trailer, it was over a month ago. I can't even remember how long ago. When the first trailer dropped, we all talked about it, so it's not like... So, yeah, keep in mind, this is a second trailer for a direct-to-Netflix movie. So let's put that into perspective. And we've already talked about the first trailer. I'm excited about seeing it. I'm hoping it's going to be one of the ones that I enjoy. But yeah, let's keep it in context. So let's be real about it. All right, what's next?
James Welsh, Frozen 2 beat records for most viewed animated trailer in 24 hours, beating Incredibles 2. Do you think it'll beat Incredibles 2 opening weekend record and its own record of highest grossing animated film?
Tough to say. My gut is no, but that was a pretty damn good trailer. Like here, I was walking, Ann and I were taking our dogs for a walk last night, and we were talking about the trailer, and Ann's all excited about it because Ann is, senior person at Hasbro, and they're working on Frozen toys. So we were talking a bit about Frozen, and I was saying to her, the interesting thing about Frozen is, once the first one crossed that $1 billion mark, it became cool to bash on it, because it became so popular. It's like, stupid Frozen for little girls and blah, blah, blah. But what I found was the vast response to that trailer was even people you would stereotypically think would go, oh, it's Frozen. We're going, wow, that's a pretty good trailer. And it is. It's a pretty damn good trailer. It's just a first trailer. There's no dialogue in it, but it was a fun trailer to watch. And whereas I might have said, no, I don't think it'll catch Incredibles 2, I ain't so sure about that now. I ain't so sure. We got to get closer. Look, the movie doesn't come out for like another, 7 months? Where February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, 9 months. It doesn't come out for 9 more months. Let's get like 3 months out before we start making predictions about how well it will or will not do. The Incredibles did set a pretty high bar, as did the first Frozen. But that was a good trailer. It's got a lot of people talking, even people who traditionally wouldn't talk about a Disney princess movie. It was pretty good. What were your thoughts overall on that whole trailer, Ashley?
I liked it. I'm definitely going to see Frozen 2. I mean, the songs are great. The characters are great. I think they're doing a lot of like new, innovative things with the storylines there. So I'm sold. I do have something to say that still grinds my gears about Incredibles 2. Even though I loved Incredibles 2, I thought it was so weird that they did that whole thing with like Holly Hunter being like, sorry we took so long. It's been about, 10 years. And they did this whole like, remember that like build up before the movie, or maybe it was after? Did you see that in the theater when
Are you talking about like in the you mean before the movie even started, and they had Craig T. Nelson, Holly Hunter, and Brad Bird and Samuel Jackson? Yeah, I remember. I thought that was actually pretty good when they talked about, hey, sorry, it's been 40 years since we did the first one, but we wanted to get.
I thought it was weird because then you're like, well, Frozen 2 didn't take 10 years. Like, I don't, why are you guys even saying this? Like, the movie was amazing. I don't mind waiting, but it's funny to even say it when so many other animated films come out very quickly. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's why specifically, because other animated films come out really quickly and they took like 14 years. Yeah. But I think the main thing was because it's not just that it took 14 years, it's that Incredibles, to a lot of people, the first Incredibles was maybe the best Pixar film ever. And it's a film that for 14 years people have been crying and screaming for a sequel. And whereas with other properties, hey, we'll do a sequel in 2 years. We'll do a sequel in 3 years. Why did we have to wait 14 years for a sequel to maybe, arguably, the most beloved of the Pixar films, The Incredibles? Why did we have to wait this long for a sequel? The reality is it was because Brad Bird, I think, was hesitant to do it, but they eventually got him back on board to do it, and the results were great. I love the movie, but yeah, I think that's why they felt the need to do this little, hey guys, we know it was a long wait, but we're here now. I see the need,
but not their reasoning. Like the reasoning that they came up with, I was like, I'm not buying this reasoning. Like, I get why you guys are saying it, but I'm like, come on. But yeah, because I'm sure there's a lot of other things that was the reason for them to wait 14 years, which I don't mind. I'm just glad it came out and turned out the way that it did. I loved the film, but
me too. Me too.
All right, Darth, Impact, one of two. I, for one, am pro post-credit person, and a lot of talk lately has support for Endgame not having a post-credit scene. If anything, I want at least 5 post-credit scenes. One more Doctor Strange in a 7-Eleven buying a carton of stark raving hazelnut ice cream.
I am very pro post-credit scene in Avengers Endgame. I'm very pro for a couple reasons. Number one, it's just what Marvel does. I mean, Marvel does these post-credit scenes, right? So we're used to them. We like seeing them. I enjoy what they do with these post-credit scenes. So I want to see them do it. But number two is, have post-credit scenes ever been more relevant than a movie like Endgame? Listen, Phase 4 is still pretty much a mystery to everybody. The only thing we know that is already set in stone is Spider-Man Far From Home. Now, we know Doctor Strange 2 is coming. We know Black Panther 2 is coming. We know a number of these things. But right now, there is so much unknown about Phase 4 that post-credit scenes in Endgame seems to make more sense than almost any other film they've ever done. This would be the place to do them. And you know what? It's not going to be 5, Darth Impact, but I'll go out on a limb and I'll say not only are we going to get a post-credit scene in Avengers Endgame, I'm going to go out on a limb and say we're going to get 3. I think we're going to get 3 post-credit scenes. One that happens like 20 seconds after the credits start, one really mid-credit, and then one at the very, very end. And one of them will be for Spider-Man Far From Home, I believe. And then one will be for something else that's coming up in Phase 4. So yeah, I am pro it. I think it will happen. And not only that'll happen, I think we're going to get 3. All right, what's next?
Jeff Fortner, I just feel after my favorite X-Men movie, X-Men 2, Fox didn't get it to that level again. I liked First Class, by the way, just more downs than ups. Love Logan, by the way.
Look, to me, X-Men 2 was the greatest comic book movie of all time for a certain period of time. There was, before a couple of others came out that usurped it, X-Men 2 is a fabulous comic book movie, but I believe there are a couple of X-Men films that passed it. I still like X-Men 2 more than First Class. But I think X-Men Days of Future Past passed it. To me, X-Men Days of Future Past is a top 10 greatest comic book movie of all time. It is a wonderfully written, fantastically acted, beautifully executed comic book movie. It's brutally great. It's just brutally great. I love that. And then clearly I thought Logan also passed it. Logan I think is the crown jewel of the entire X-Men universe and the entire X-Men experiment that happened over at Fox. The biggest gem out of that entire Fox era is going to be Logan, which I believe was the best film of 2017. So, but yeah, man, never forget just how good and just how special the X-Men 2 was. With Stryker, Brian Cox playing Stryker. I mean, it was great. It was wonderful. I loved it. All right, what's next?
The next couple are from Dimsum05. Just got out of Alita. Great visuals, great character development, great story. Just kidding. Haven't seen it. Forgive me.
Forgive you. It's okay. No worries, Dimsum. But that's exactly what we're hearing, right? Great visuals. I am not hearing great character development. That's one thing I'm not hearing. I'm not hearing great story, but I am hearing great action, great visuals, lots of that. All right, what's next from him?
All right, John Campea. When Supergirl jobbed Superman, look how they massacred my boy.
Oh, no kidding, man. Like you guys have heard me rant on and on and on and on about, and I won't subject you to it again. Don't worry. But you guys have heard me rant many times about what they did to the greatest granddaddy of all superheroes, Superman, and what they did to him in the CW universe. There's simply no forgiving that. There's simply no excusing it, and screw that show. I'm never watching it again. All right, what does he got next?
Regarding Nazis and Indiana Jones. But John, the MCU did Nazis in 2014 with Captain Winter Soldier. LOL JK.
Well, no, they did, and it was great. I like that they did that. I love, and I really hope that we get to see, Red Skull come back again, not just in a brief cameo like he was in Infinity War. I'd love to see Red Skull come back again, and being played by Hugo Weaving. Please, Hugo, consider coming back and playing this character again. I would love it. All right, what's next?
Just finished watching Popstar. Why didn't you tell me about the limo scene, John? Why?
Oh my God, Popstar. Look, nobody saw Popstar.
I don't know.
Nobody.
What is it?
Okay, it's by the guys, the Lonely Island guys. Popstar, Never Stop, Never Stopping is the name of it. With what's his name? Adam, the guy from
Levine.
Oh, why? No, not Adam Levine. He was on Saturday Night Live. He's the lead singer of Lonely Island, and now he's got that cop show. And I can't even remember. Andy Samberg. Yes, Andy Samberg.
Popstar. Yeah. I want to see it actually.
Nobody saw that movie.
Right.
And that movie is wonderfully funny.
It's hilarious.
I love that movie, but the limousine scene. I'm not going to say what it is, Ashley, just because you're here and I don't want to spoil it for you. But you will know what we were talking about when it happens. You'll go, oh, that's what they were talking. The limousine scene in a movie that was all about shock. You didn't think anything could shock you anymore, and then they shock you with it. And those of you who've seen the movie know what we're talking about. All right, what's next?
All right, Cox as Reed, Ritter as Susan, Coulter as Ben, Jones as Johnny. How hilarious would that be?
Nah. Nah. All right, what's next?
All right, next is from Householder Films. John, have you seen Gerald's Game? It's terrifying.
Yes, with Bruce Greenwood in it, and it's a great little... look, I've got a real soft spot for movies that use either one or very limited sets. Like either one set or very, very limited sets. I've got a real soft spot for those. And I believe it's on Netflix right now. I believe it's a Netflix original, but I did see it just because I'm a big fan of Bruce Greenwood. And I don't know that I'd say it was terrifying, but I enjoyed it. It's a good little film. All right, what's next?
Jared's reviews. Over under 20%. We see Hugh Jackman cameo in Dark Phoenix.
Well under. I'm going to take the well under on that. I believe he's been very clear that he's done as Wolverine. And if he was going to cameo in anything, I'm surprised he didn't cameo in Deadpool 2. And I'm really surprised he didn't do some kind of cameo in Once Upon a Deadpool. But if there was going to be anything, it was that. But I really do believe he's done. So I won't say 0, but I'll take well under 20%. All right, what's next?
Darth Impact. In my opinion, when Hela knocked over the Infinity Gauntlet and said fake, I think she was speaking of the stones inside it. I think that gauntlet was real.
Nope, there was only one. There was only one that that the dwarf made at Nidavellir. It was just the one. So that was nothing but, that entire scene was just a wink. That wasn't canonical. It was just a wink to the audience. It was just a little Easter egg and a little gag thrown in. It was nothing more than that. It was not the real gauntlet because we know how the real gauntlet got made, right? Peter Dinklage says, Thanos came here, made me make it. He took it, went and got the other stone, blah, 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 blah. So No, it wasn't the real gauntlet, it wasn't the real gems, and it wasn't really meant to be taken seriously in Thor Ragnarok. When Hela went in and did that, I believe it was just a little joke for the audience, a little wink, from Taika Waititi to the audience saying, and I think that's it. All right, what's next?
Dim Sum 05, regarding fragile snowflakes. Do these people not have friends that think differently from them? Unbelievable.
Well, I mean, I don't know what the context of what we're talking about, Dim Sum, but yes, it is pretty interesting. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Well, anyway, I'm not going to say anything at this point. So what's next?
Robert Mitchell, Adam West taught me love. Kilmore taught me patience. Clooney taught me pain. And Keaton was so amazing, but Batfleck was the best. And for that, I say thank you, Fleck. Thank you, Fleck.
You know what? It's funny when they announced Ben Affleck as Batman. The amount of laughing that went on was crazy. And people made these memes about, and then they said Ben Affleck's going to be Batman. Ha, 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 ha. And I was the first guy online to go, guys, this dude's for real. And he's going to be a great Batman. And this is a great choice. And yada, yada, yada. But everybody laughed. Everybody laughed. Even people today who go, I never laughed. Yes, you did. Everybody laughed. And thought it was a joke when they got Ben Affleck as Batman. And now here we are. And I wish there was time travel. So somebody could go back to Ben in those first days when all the backlash started happening over the fact that he was cast as Batman and say, hey, here's a little glimpse from February of 2019 after you've stepped down as Batman and how many people are really rather sad that you're stepping down. I wish I could go back in time and show Ben Affleck from that year, hey, don't worry about it. When you're done, people are going to have appreciated what you did. At least the majority of people are going to have appreciated what you did. And yeah, man, I think it's sad. To me, he was the most comic accurate Batman we've ever had, because he's the only Batman. I've said this before. Let me say it again. He's the only Batman we've ever had that truly understood what Ben Affleck got that the others did not, was that unlike other superheroes, he was not Bruce Wayne. Bruce Wayne died in that alley with his parents. Bruce Wayne died, and the Batman was born. And the cowl was not the mask. Bruce Wayne was the mask. Who he really was Batman. When he was in the cape and cowl, that was his true identity. And when he was in his tuxedo at the parties, that was the fake. That was the mask. And that is something that even Christopher Nolan's Batman, they didn't get. They always got it that Bruce Wayne's Bruce Wayne and Batman's the mask. I'll take on this character of Batman to fight crime. Ben Affleck understood, no, that's who he actually is. There is only Batman. Bruce Wayne is now the facade. And Batman is the true individual. And Ben got that. And I thought he portrayed that perfectly in Batman vs. Superman. Not so much in Justice League, but he portrayed it perfectly in Batman vs. Superman. And that's why, to me, he is the most accurate representation, the most true incarnation on the big screen in live action of Batman that I think we've ever had the privilege of watching. And I'm going to miss him doing it. All I can hope is that Matt Reeves understands that one fundamental thing, that Batman is the real identity and Bruce Wayne is the facade. Please, Matt Reeves, if you only get one thing about Batman, please get that. That's all I'm asking for. All right, what's next?
Dim Sum 05, regarding fragile snowflakes again. I'm boycotting John Campea because of his views on ketchup on eggs. LOL, JK, ketchup on burgers and fries, please.
I still cannot believe how many people out there of you are disgusting individuals. So many of you are disgusting. I've got so many people tweeting me them putting ketchup on eggs. You're revolting bad people. You're bad people. Anyway, yes, ketchup, I'll never get it. I'll never understand it. I get a little bit of a gag reflex just even trying to think of having ketchup on eggs, but God bless those of you who like it. You're crazy people to me, but that's fine. All right, what's next?
Best D14. Scott escapes the quantum realm, but no one talks about the fact that he drove the van with the projector from San Francisco all the way to New York. LOL.
Well, that's a good point too. I mean, I guess he probably would have had to have taken, because look, if it's after the snap, And by the way, there's still theories out there that Scott traveled through time and that footage is old footage. Because Captain America says in the trailer, is this old footage? And then you hear Black Widow say, that's the front door. Now, I think it's present. I think it's in the present. But there are theories out there that it's in the past. But if it is present, I don't know that airlines would be flying. I mean, can you imagine that? Like the Earth, we see in that one Avenger spot that the Earth is in a terrible mess. With the disaster and the tragedy of half of everybody on Earth was suddenly gone and suddenly dead. So I don't know that Scott getting out of the quantum realm would then have any other option of getting there other than hopping in the van and driving across the country. I don't know, but there's a lot of different theories there. So we're getting close, though. We're getting close. We're like 2 months away from the movie. Keep the countdown going, everybody. All right, what's next?
Jaron Morris, who wins in a fight, Dominic T or Dean Winchester? If Dean found out Dom keyed his car, killed Cass and Sam, you're the writer of the fight.
Oh, and in that case, then Sam wins the fight. Yeah, if I'm the writer of the fight, I always say, well, if Vin Diesel's producing that movie, then Dominic Toretto wins. Dominic could be fighting the T-Rex from Jurassic Park with nothing but a spoon, and somehow Dominic Toretto will win that fight. But if I'm writing that, oh yeah. Dean Winchester, who has fought Satan and demons and angels and Leviathan and everything, I would have Sam win that fight. Or was it Dean? I can't remember. Who did you ask? It's between that. Yeah, it's Dean. Dean wins that fight. Maybe not Sam, but Dean wins that fight. All right, what's next?
Javier Belmeyer. Hey guys, is there a chance we'll ever see new film franchises that aren't adaptations, remakes, live action, sequels, prequels, dinosaur film, not Jurassic Park, or superhero, not Marvel DC?
Yeah, absolutely. They come up and have. Remember, Fast and the Furious was nothing before it was Fast and the Furious. James Cameron's Avatar films were not a thing until he did Avatar. So yes, I mean, yeah, and we have new non-DC or Marvel comic book things coming as well. Yes. See, here's the thing that I keep trying to explain to people that goes, Hollywood doesn't do anything original anymore. Actually, that's factually incorrect. It's not an opinion. It is factually incorrect. There's more original cinema that gets made today than any other time in history. And many times I've made that point and I've gone, let's go over to the release schedule for the next few months. And like 80% of all the movies that are coming out are completely original movies, but they're just movies not everybody talks about and people don't necessarily go to see. But more original stuff gets made every day. But just remember, these franchises, there was no Jurassic Park before there was Jurassic Park. There was no Avatar before there was Avatar. Yeah, they keep coming and there will be more and we'll see more and it'll keep happening. All right, what's next?
Tortimore the Grey Gaming. Read recently that they are rebooting live action TMNT again, expecting to begin shooting in 2019. Have you heard anything about this?
I heard about it. I don't know how official it is. I don't know whether it's actually going to happen. Look, we hear a lot of things all the time. Me and Robert have talked about this on the show before. I will say this. If they're going to do the straight modern day Nickelodeon cowabunga skateboarding pizza dudes, then I have very little interest. If, however, they either go back to or at least do a hybrid of the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles back from their black and white comic days when they were dark and gritty and violent, I'm all for that. I'm all for that. I would see that movie in a heartbeat. Or even an amalgamation, a hybrid. Like, one of the neat things is like one of the most recent Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movies. They made 2 of them. The first one was actually not bad. I liked it because they had a little bit of the cowabunga, skateboarding, pizza-loving dudes, yes, but they were actually more action, a little more violent, a little more things. If they can nudge it a little bit further that way, I'm all on board for it. Now, let's actually wait and see if it actually happens, though. All right, what's next?
I hope it comes out and it's good. I mean, I was obsessed like many people as a kid. I had like pajamas, the video games. I was obsessed. I'm upset. Would have loved to see a Lego Justice League film.
Nah. I like them using Lego, like Justice League guys as side characters in it. I don't know. I think the shtick of Superman and Green Lantern and all that kind of stuff that they do in the Lego movies would get tired pretty quick. But then again, I didn't necessarily think an entire movie based around the Lego Batman character would have worked. And that movie was great. So, hey, maybe it could have been something pretty good. All right, what's next?
Ryan Lohner, Prince Charles, George R.R. Martin, Samuel L. Jackson, all the same age.
That is crazy. I can see Prince Charles and George R.R. Martin being the same age. Samuel Jackson, like I said,
No.
I think Samuel Jackson hit 50
Yeah.
and then went to the supernatural crossroads and made a deal with the crossroads demon to not age again ever. Because once he hit 50, Ashley, he has nothing has changed. He hit 50 and stopped aging. That dude is a specimen. That dude is a treasure. So
there are just certain people in Hollywood that I think that they're going to be 100 and we're going to be like, wait, what? How are you not 40?
Yeah. You know, Anne often jokes to me because they're still like Anne still gets carded at places, you know. Mm-hmm. Anne is 34 and she still gets carded at places. And she goes, well, that's the thing about us Asian women. I'm like, what? She goes, oh, I'll look like this till I'm like 55 and then I'm going to look like I'm 90 the next day. And I'm like, all right, what's next?
Ethan's Tech World, A4 time travel seems too easy. Can we predict this?
Well, look, that's what everybody's thinking is going to be time travel, but I've said the same thing. Look, if they do time travel, I'll give the Russos the benefit of the doubt and we'll see how it turns out. I'll give it the benefit of the doubt. However, as a fan, I hope they don't go that way because to me, time travel is the cheap, lazy, get out of jail free card because there's no problem in any movie that you can't fix with time travel.
Yeah.
Think about it. There's no problem you can have in any movie that you can't fix with time travel.
Or in life, you know?
Or in life. So many things I wish I could go back in time over. But I mean, it on the surface, again, it seems lazy. It seems lazy. It's like, oh my God, the snap and blah, blah. How do we do it? I don't know. Time travel? I mean, it just seems like the lazy get out of jail free card. But again, if they do use time travel, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt and let's see how it executes. But I'm just hoping that they have a better, more creative, less lazy way to get around it. That's my hope at any rate. All right, what's next?
Ben Rayner, want to look at something crazy? Look up Prince Charming and Jamie Lannister. They're the same person. LOL.
I've seen that. See, somebody the other day sent in say, have you seen this guy in the Vancouver Canucks? He looks just like Prince Charming from Shrek. And I pulled him up. I was like, no, he looks exactly like him. The Jamie Lannister, I've seen people share pictures of Jamie Lannister and Prince Charming from Shrek. It's like there are similarities for sure, but nowhere near as much as that dude from the Vancouver Canucks. And I can't remember the guy's name. But there's something like nowhere near that. But yes, definitely. If you pull up pictures of Jamie Lannister and Prince Charming, there are definitely similarities. But it's just that now my head is always going to be that Vancouver Canucks player because it looked like a dead ringer. All right.
I always giggle at the meme from Jamie Lannister when he gets injured and falls into like basically like the shallow end of the pond, and then suddenly he's in the deep abyss of the ocean. Did you ever see that?
Oh yes, I remember watching that. I remember we were watching that episode live, and it's like. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Like all of a sudden that's 40 feet deep?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I remember
there are a few mistakes in Game of Thrones, but when they're there, they're kind of hilarious.
They're kind of hilarious. All right, what's next?
John DeBenect. Happy Friday, John. I admit I'm not very surprised about Jared Leto probably not coming back as the Joker. I figured after long periods of not hearing any news about his version, I figured that ship has sailed.
Yeah, look, I still don't know. It's still not official. Remember, this is all coming from a report in Forbes, fairly reputable outlet. This is all coming from a report in Forbes that they're saying that the Joker project, the Joker and Harley Quinn movie as well, have been put on the shelf. That's what they're saying. I've still not seen anything official from the studios themselves or from Jared Leto himself about that. So if it's true, and there's a good chance it is true, if it's true, I have two thoughts on it. Number one, I'm disappointed because unlike most people, I was intrigued by Jared Leto's Joker. And I was hoping to see Jared Leto and Margot Robbie as the Joker and Harley Quinn together again. I thought that would be really good. But while I feel disappointed, I also get it. Look, I was going to say Ken Watanabe, but it's not Ken Watanabe. Tsujihara went in and got Walter Hamada to run the DC Universe now. And one of his decisions, I guess, was to get rid of this Joker and Harley Quinn ideas. We have a different direction. If that's one of the decisions he made, then I understand why. I do. I get it. I'm disappointed, but I understand it, and it might be even for the best. But then again, we don't know 100% for sure that it's true, so let's just kind of wait and see. But you're right. It's been silent for a while. Okay, what's next?
Jaron Morris, one favorite moment in Supernatural, or what is that, Supernatural SPN, is when Dean traveled to the future and he sees it, Lucifer wearing his brother, and the conversation was heartbreaking.
Oh my God. Look, there's so many scenes like that, but yes, that was a heartbreaking scene. Again, one of my favorites though was from a couple of episodes ago when Dean was about to lock himself, because he's got the Archangel Michael trapped inside of his mind. He's got the Archangel Michael trapped in this room inside of his own mind. But the Archangel Michael, who wants to destroy the world, is trying to get out of this prison in Dean's mind. So Dean decides the only way to keep the world safe is for me to lock myself in this spellbound box, this coffin, and that nothing can get out of, including an archangel, and drop me to the bottom of the ocean to keep the Archangel Michael trapped in there forever. It's the only way to save the world. And his brother, Sam, finally, who's been trying to talk him out of it for a couple of episodes, finally says, why are you giving up on us? Why don't you believe in us that we can come up with something to fix this? You don't just check out. Oh, and it got so heartfelt. He's like slapping his brother in the chest saying, we don't check out. We don't give up, and blah, blah. It was emotional. It was a beautiful, beautiful scene. I like that. But yeah, Jaron, that one you just brought up is actually really good too. I like that one a lot. All right, what's next?
Tortimer, the Great Gaming. If Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is rebooted, would you rather see a light, humorous MCU style take or darker, back to its roots, Netflix Daredevil style take this time? Do you think there's any chance of the latter?
Well, it's funny because I was just kind of mentioning that I would much rather see them go a little bit. Look, you don't have to go all the way and just make it R-rated and brutal. You don't have to go all the way. But I would personally, and I can't speak for anybody else, I know there's probably a lot of you who love the cowabunga skateboarding, pizza-loving dudes, and that's fine. That's great. But if it were me, I go a little bit darker. Do I think there's a chance that they do that? Yeah, because you've done Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles between television and the movies a million different times. Why not try something a bit darker? You don't have to make it PG. I'm sorry, you don't have to make it rated R. But go a little more edgy PG-13. Make it a little bit more mature. Make it for some of us who remember when the origins of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I hope so. And I do think there's a chance. Would I put money on it? No. I'm not that silly. I wouldn't put money on it. But I think there's a chance. So I'm just going to sit here as a movie fan. Who wrote that in? Tortimer? I'm just going to sit here, Tortimer, and keep my fingers crossed. Fingers crossed they go a little bit edgy and darker. And maybe we'll get lucky. Who knows? All right, let's take 3 more.
Richard Walton, watch the original Iron Man trailer for nostalgia. The entire trailer is just a summary of the entire movie, including the end scene. Boy, trailers have come a long way.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. I watched, what was it? What did I do for it? It was about a year ago, I think. I rewatched like all the first trailers for all the NC movies up to that point. And you're right. As you go back older, you're like, woo, man, trailers have gotten better. They've gotten better at making trailers. It's always funny when you look at it that way now. And like I said, it's been about a year since I've seen that first Iron Man trailer. But still, I remember, dude, being at Comic-Con. Jon Favreau came and presented the first footage of Iron Man. And I was one of those guys who went, bah, Iron Man. He's a poor man's Batman. Ooh, a rich guy with no superpowers who uses his money to buy fancy gadgets to fight crime in. Where have we seen that before? Right, it's a poor man's Batman. Now, I like the casting of Robert Downey Jr. because even though at the time his name was Mud and nobody wanted to work with Robert Downey Jr. anymore because of all of his self-inflicted problems that he caused himself, I still thought that was a good choice. But even then I was like, And then we all saw that first footage. And the world changed. And suddenly, not only was everybody buzzing about Iron Man, but now every studio for the next 10 years after that, all were like, oh, we got to take our movies to Comic-Con. Because look at what happened. It was that thing at Comic-Con that got the whole ball rolling with Iron Man, and all the enthusiasm and all the energy and all the buzz, and got everybody going on it. And it was a huge deal. It was a huge deal. And yeah, but they have gotten better. There's no doubt, man, Richard, that as they've moved forward, they have absolutely come a long way. And guys, follow Richard's example. If you Go back and watch like the original trailer for the first Avengers. Go back and watch the trailer for the Hulk films. Go back and watch the trailer for Captain America, the first Avenger. And to see how different they make these trailers now. I think they've gotten better. All right. What is next?
DC Patience. Ketchup is like hot sauce without the heat. Adds a little twang to your scrambled eggs. Served with hash browns and sausage. It's a Southern thing.
No, it's an evil thing, D. It is not a Southern thing. It is an evil from the pits of hell and the devil evil.
I'm with you, D. I lived in the South for 8 years, actually. I lived in Charleston for college and Austin, Texas. So
that's right, yeah.
I have East Coast roots, Southern roots, and West Coast. So,
and is that actually a Southern thing? Do a lot of people put ketchup on eggs and stuff like that for breakfast?
Yeah. There's just like a lot of sauces and creams going on in the South at all times. I feel like.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of sauces and creams, but oof, that one, no. I
did it. Guilty, but.
Yeah, well, you're evil too. All right. What's next?
Guilty. Mark Blaza. Not really a fan of watching series on Netflix. However, my dad stumbled upon the Grimm series on Netflix. It became our daily bonding thing. Did you watch that series? I'm kind of hooked on it.
I did watch Grimm, and I'll tell you what, I liked Grimm a lot. And again, another one of those series of, well, that looks a little silly, but then I watched it and I got hooked. The whole thing about the mythology of the Grimms and how it's passed down from generation to generation, the mythology of the Vesson, the monsters that live among us, blah, blah, blah. It was light. It wasn't a CW show. I believe it was an NBC show, but it had a little bit of a CW show feel to it. But I got addicted to it pretty fast. And I thought Grimm was really good. Now, the final season was not great. By the time, when we got to the series finale, I was like, yeah, I'm ready for the show to end now. Because it almost felt like they didn't know the final season was going to be the final season until they were almost ready to start shooting the final season. You know what I mean? Like, it felt like it was like one of those, wait, this is our final year. We got to wrap it all up in this. Okay, let's do this. And it was not worthy of the series. The final season was not worthy of the series. It wasn't terrible, but it wasn't all that good. And yeah, by the time it ended, I was ready for it to end. But other than the final season, I got a real kick out of that show, man. I really did. If you got a chance, you're looking for something to binge, like, this season of most of the mainstream television is coming to an end pretty soon. If you're looking for more shows to add to your queue or things to binge, I would recommend listening to Mark's recommendation and checking out Grimm. I think you'll have a good time with Grimm, and I think you'll like it. Check it out.
Yeah, I met the lead actor. He's a really nice guy, too.
Oh, really? I've met a few people from the show. I never met the lead guy. And I know
David Guintali. I forget his last name. I'm butchering it. But David is his first name, and he was a nice guy.
And he's either in something else right now, or they just announced he's going to be in something else coming up pretty soon. But the guy who played his partner has been in a few things. He's in another show already, and he was in Creed 2. He was like the greasy promoter that sets up the fights in Creed 2. That was pretty cool. So yeah, I mean, people, check it out if you get a chance. All right, guys, that will do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show on this Friday. Listen, there's still a bunch of questions that were sent in we didn't have time to get around to. Spencer, Average, Dixon, Vishal, all the way down. Do not worry, guys. I'm going to be doing a companion video later today. I'm going to take all these questions that you guys sent in that we didn't have time to get around to, and I'm going to answer them in another video a little bit later today before I go off to watch Fighting with My Family later. Keep your eyes open for that. I want to thank, of course, Ashley Whalen for being here. Ashley, where can people find you online?
You guys can find me on my Twitter at AshAttack1 or my Instagram at Ashley Whalen. It's ASHLEYYWHELAN.
And of course, you guys can follow me on social media, on almost any of the social medias, just at John Campea. Hey guys, don't forget, for those of you who are Patreon supporters, a little bit later today, Ashley and Robert Meyer Burnett and I will be putting up our new installment of Best of the Week, which is a Patreon exclusive podcast. That's coming up later. And by the way, speaking of Patreon, guys, listen, if you guys haven't done so yet, do me a favor, go and check out www.patreon.com/John Campea. While you're there, you can find out all the information about what does it mean to be a Patreon Patreon supporter, how does being a Patreon supporter keep this show on the air, and also the little perks that are involved with being a Patreon supporter, like audio-only versions of the John Campea Show for podcasts that's only available to Patreon supporters, the Patreon-exclusive podcast, Best of the Week, our Facebook group, and a few other fun things along the way. And then maybe you'll want to become a Patreon supporter too. If you do, that's awesome, and if you don't, that's perfectly fine. I'm just grateful you're here being a film fan with us. All right, guys, that'll do it for us right now. Thanks a lot for joining us. My name's John Campea, and until the next show, bye-bye.